Alright, today we are going to do a lesson that is called What's in a Name. First thing I need you to do is I need you to prepare your paper. So in order to do that, I'm going to have you divide your paper into quadrants. And in those quadrants, you're going to write number 1 in the top corner, number 2 to the right of that. The bottom ones are going to be number 3 and number 4. So we're going to prepare our paper. Alright, so with this challenge, we're going to do this challenge 4 separate times. Okay, so that's why you have the 4 different boxes. Inside each box, you're going to mix and paint a color, and you're going to paint a guess rectangle of that color inside that box. Then we're going to find out the real color, and you'll have to mix and make the real color inside that box. I'll walk you through the first one, okay? So, while we're getting ready, let's get our paint ready too. You've got a small cup of water, a paint palette, your brush, paper towel in case you need. Now, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to add a small amount of water to each of your paint palette, like the paint wells. So if I was teaching like kindergartners, I would tell them to just use their paintbrush and squeeze a little water, like a few drops out. We call that milking the cow. But that way your paintbrush stays clean. If you're super steady, you could just pour like a dribble into each one. Quinn, squeeze it out.
Fine.
Well, if you need a bigger paintbrush for this, the pink handled one will probably hold a little more water. Once you finish with that, when we mix and make our paint colors, we're actually going to mix and make them in the paint lid. So the paint palette is designed to hold your mixed colors. That's why it has like little walls in the lid to separate different colors. And then when we're all done, we'll just wipe that out and clean up our paint palette. Alright, in front of you, I have an envelope with a number on it. Try not to mix up your number with anybody else's numbers, because I also have an envelope that has the answer in it. And so if we mix them up, then it's just harder to find the right one later. Okay, for box number 1, I want you to randomly pick one of the gray color chips out of your envelope. The name of the color chip you're going to write on the line in box 1. Quinn, what is the name of your color chip?
7 Lakes.
Ooh, 7 Lakes. That's a pretty creative name. What do you think that color might be?
Blue.
What kind of blue?
Dark blue.
If you turn it over and you look at the shade of gray, how dark the gray is going to also help you decide how dark and deep like the color is.
Okay.
So like a really, really dark midnight blue would end up being almost black in its gray tone.
Okay.
So you can use the shade of gray to kind of help you guess at what you think it might be. You're gonna mix that color, 7 lakes, in the lid of your paint palette, and then when you think you know what color you're going to do, you're going to paint a square of that color on your page in box 1. Will, what color name do you have?
Mountain Majesty.
Ooh, what do you think that color is?
Like a grayish blue.
A grayish blue? Okay. How intense was the shade of gray on the other side of it?
Mediocre.
Mediocre. Looks like it might be darker than Quinn's though. Alright. You're also mixing in the lid of your paint palette? If I'm trying to make a color lighter with watercolors, what would I do?
Add more water.
Add more water. More water makes a color lighter. If I'm trying to make my color darker, what am I going to do?
Black.
I might add a black into it. How much black?
Not a lot.
Depending on how dark you want it to be, like.
Depending on how dark, yeah. So I would start with a little. So when you say not a lot, I would add a little to start and
Mhm.
slowly add more to get it up to the intensity that I want it. So we've got Quinn mixing 7 lakes. And then Will on the far side of the table is mixing, what was it, Mountain Majesty?
Yeah.
Nice. Alright, Quinn, what is your envelope number?
9.
9, excellent. If you put your color tab back in it, I will trade you. And now you're gonna find the 7 lakes. You might have to hunt a little.
Oh.
So, Quinn, now your task is to either take fresh paint and mix and make the actual color, or if your color was close, your guess was close, then you can take and mix into your color to see if you can match it up a little more.
On which?
Keep it in box 1.
Okay.
Alright, Will, you have your guess?
Yeah.
Yeah? Alright, if you place your chip back in the envelope, I'll trade you. You're looking for Mountain Majesty. Do you feel like it's pretty close, Quinn?
Yeah,
Yeah?
probably.
Probably.
As close as I can probably get it.
Alright, if you put that color chip back. I will have you take on box number 2. What color did you get?
Shaded granite. Yeah.
Shaded granite?
Mm-hmm.
What do you predict that color will look like?
gray.
Why do you think it's gonna look like gray?
Because it's gray.
It is a black and white copy of it. But
Oh.
what part of the name made you think gray?
Shaded. That part.
Okay, so we know that the word shaded means that we're adding black into it.
Yeah.
Okay. What about granite?
I don't know what color granite is.
You're not sure what color it possibly could be?
I don't remember. Is it like red? I don't remember.
Okay. So if you have a darker version of granite, a shaded granite, if you need fresh water, you're welcome to go grab some. Or if you think it's not gonna matter.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay?
Go put this back.
Yeah. Oh, were you pretty close?
I was. Very close.
Excellent. All right, let's try one more. What color did you get?
Olive branch.
Olive branch?
Yeah.
What color do you think olive branch is going to be?
I'm guessing like a brownish green with a bit of yellow on it.
A brownish green with a bit of yellow? Okay. Number 11?
Mm-hmm. Dang, I was right.
It does have a little bit of that pink undertone to it, though. Don't you think?
A little bit. Yeah, maybe.
So while you're doing this, what are some things that it's forcing you to do?
Changing the color and the value.
Okay, so we're focusing on changing the color, changing on the value, how light or dark it is. What else is it forcing you to think about?
Imagining what that said color would look like with the name.
Okay, so envisioning what that color could possibly be
Mm-hmm.
when all you're given is the name.
Mm-hmm. It's probably pretty good.
Alright, Clint, I'm gonna have you do one more thing with this one, but this time I'm gonna give you a color. I want you to pick one color out of the colored envelope for number 3. And this time, I don't want you to look at the name. This time I want you to put the color chip in that box. And I want you to name the color. So this is your new color.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're coming up with the name.
Okay. Just gonna hold that there.
How close were you, Will?
I do not know yet.
You do not know yet? Are you going with the darker one or the more yellow one?
I'd say this one
The yellow one.
was closest,
It's pretty close.
but I think it needs a brown.
Be careful with the Crayola brown. You might almost want like teensy bit.
Yeah, that is really dark. I'll just mix it with that and then see if it, see how it reacts.
Do I get to look at the name now or not?
Alright, show me the color chip. And
The-
what
oh,
color did you name it?
Sandy Dunes.
Nice. What were you thinking about when you named it Sandy Dunes?
That since sand is like an orange sort of yellow dark tan sort of thing,
Mm-hmm.
I thought of that, and then dunes was just a fancy word that I thought of.
Okay, that you could add with sand.
Yeah.
Excellent. Nice job. Let me put it back in the envelope. Alright, Will, last thing I'm gonna have you do, just like Quinn did. I'm gonna have you pick one out of that envelope, but don't look at the name. Just pick a color chip out. You are going to name that color. What kind of things does it make you think of?
I don't know. The snow.
The snow? Okay, so what kind of words do you associate with the snow?
Ice. Frost. It's like maybe a frost blue.
Okay, so maybe a frost blue. Do we want to give the person the word blue, or do you want to make them think of that as well? Can we come up with a different word that's synonymous with blue? Or that could represent blue?
I could just use the Spanish version of blue.
What's that?
Isn't it like azul?
It is. How would you put that together in a color name?
Azul's frost? I don't know.
Okay, azul's frost. Nice. All right, gentlemen, last thing that I need you to do. We are going to take our paper towels, and we're going to use the paper towels to wipe out the lids of the paint palette. Now, if we have to, we can always take the paint palettes over to the sink and run water into it, but my first level of cleaning up, I always like to use the paper towel to kind of wipe out the lid. With watercolor paint palettes, we're actually going to leave them open because we want them to dry out. We don't want them to have the water seep in too much and just get really gooey and gummy and things like that. That's really good too. So, to save space, one of the things I like to do is I like to stack them. So that way one is on the lid of the other one, that way it just, I can fit a whole bunch of them in a small space. Your paintbrushes, if you rinse those out, The cups we can dump out, we don't need to save the water cup. You did an awesome job.
Thank you.